While serving overseas, I discovered my girlfriend was sleeping with my best friend, both of them in uniform. She thought I'd never find out. They thought I'd never fight back. They were wrong. But this isn't a story about heartbreak. It's a story about revenge. Using nothing but silence, strategy, and the military's own code of justice, I exposed them and cut out the family who cheered them on. This is how I rebuilt, how I rose, and how I made them regret everything. I wasn't supposed to be home for another 3 days. The unit gave me early leave as a surprise after 6 months deployed. No fanfare. Just wanted to sleep in my own bed. See her face light up. Maybe hold her in silence while the war left my bones. The taxi dropped me off just after 0700. I had my duffel slung over one shoulder, uniform still wrinkled from the flight. The air outside our apartment smelled like home. Cheap detergent, asphalt, morning rain. I didn't knock. It was my place too. The door was unlocked. First thing I noticed? Laughter. Not hers alone. A man's voice, low, too familiar. Muffled. Casual. Then I saw him. In the kitchen. Barefoot. Wearing my Army PT shirt. Drinking from the mug she got me when I passed sniper training. The one that read, "Property of Sergeant Cole." He turned. Froze. It was Ethan. My best friend since basic. Deployed twice together. He knew the code to my apartment. He knew the schedule. He also knew her. And just behind him came her voice. Light, teasing, dressed in nothing but one of my shirts and the smell of sin. "Babe, I thought you said the eggs." She stopped cold. We stared. 3 of us. Frozen in a silence so sharp I swear I heard my heartbeat echo off the drywall. I looked at him. Then her. Then the shirt. The mug. The sweat on his brow. The way she shrunk behind him like I was the problem. I didn't speak. I dropped the duffel. Walked to the counter. Took the mug out of his hand. Poured the coffee into the sink. Set it down. Then I left. Not a word. Not a scream. Because revenge, I learned that day, doesn't start with noise. It starts with silence. And silence? It's patient. Before the betrayal, before the silence, before I stopped believing in the word family, there was just me. The forgotten kid in a house full of noise. I was born second. 2 years after my sister Amber. The golden child. The miracle. The girl with the smile that made grown men melt and the attitude that got excused with a laugh. When she cried, my mom ran. When I cried, my dad said, "You're tougher than that, son." By middle school, I'd figured it out. I had 2 roles, protect her and disappear quietly. Amber wrecked my bike once. They replaced it the same week. I broke her iPod by accident. I had to rake lawns for 3 months to pay it off. I never complained. I thought if I just worked harder, they'd see me. They'd be proud. Maybe one day I'd be enough. That day never came. Not when I got straight A's. Not when I won the state wrestling championship. Not even when I enlisted. I remember the day I left for boot camp. My recruiter came to pick me up at dawn. My mom didn't get out of bed. My dad just nodded from the porch and said, "Don't mess up." Amber posted a TikTok of herself crying fake tears with the caption, "Bye bro, have fun dying for oil or whatever." I shipped out anyway. The Army saw me. Not as a mistake. Not as a backup plan. As a soldier. A unit. A man. I got promoted fast. I earned my sniper tap. I started leading teams. Hell, for a while I thought I'd found a family in uniform. Then I introduced Ethan to Amber at a family barbecue. He brought beer. She brought smiles. And my parents brought praise, for him. "Ethan's so charming. Why can't you be more like your friend? Maybe he should have been our son." Funny, isn't it? They said that in front of me. Years later, I'd remember those words when I saw him in my kitchen, wearing my shirt, drinking from my cup, and smiling like he hadn't stolen anything at all. But it didn't start there. It started when they made it clear I was replaceable. I didn't tell anyone what I saw that morning. Not my CO. Not the chaplain. Not even Marcus, my old bunkmate who once pulled me out of a firefight in Helmand. Instead, I did what soldiers do. I compartmentalized. I told the unit I needed space. No explanation. I slept in the barracks. Showered twice a day just to feel clean again. Ate silently. Trained until my muscles burned. I deleted her contact. Blocked Ethan. Got promoted to sergeant first class 3 weeks later. But I didn't celebrate. The rage wasn't hot anymore. It was cold. I wasn't trying to win her back. I wasn't even heartbroken. I was hollow. Numb. Focused on one thing, never being vulnerable again. But that resolve cracked on the 4th of July. I was on night duty, scanning radio chatter for potential threats in the Eastern Corridor. It was a quiet shift, Just me, a headset, and the occasional joke from the younger guys in the comms tent. That's when Private Morales leaned over, chewing on a protein bar. "Yo, Sergeant Cole. Is this your ex?" He turned his phone toward me. It was a screenshot of an Instagram post. Amber had posted it. A photo of fireworks exploding over the lake back home. And in the foreground, two silhouettes kissing, Ethan and my ex. Her arms around his neck. His hands gripping her waist like she belonged to him. The caption? "Free at last. Collision red heart." She was still wearing the dog tags I gave her. That was it. That was the moment I broke. Not by crying. Not by screaming. But by walking out of the tent into the open night air, staring up at those same fireworks, miles away, and thinking, they think I'm too far away to touch them. They forgot who I am. They forgot what I've seen. I made a promise that night. They would regret everything. And this time I'd use more than silence. I'd use the rules. Because the military doesn't take kindly to betrayal done in uniform. And neither do I. I didn't break down after that post. I broke open. Something snapped inside me, but not in the way you'd expect. No screaming. No vengeance playlist. No middle-of-the-night threats. Just strategy. It was the first time I realized, emotions make noise. Revenge demands discipline. I started slow. First, I reached out to a buddy in JAG, an old friend from Basic who owed me a favor. I didn't tell him everything, just enough to open the door. Hypothetically, I asked, what happens if two active duty personnel, both in a relationship, engage in fraternization, especially if one is married to someone else? There was a long pause on the line. Well, he said slowly, if they're in the same unit or station close. UCMJ Article 134 applies. Adultery. Conduct unbecoming. Especially if it compromises the mission. If the relationship started while one was still in another, that's even worse. I nodded. Got it? Thanks. Purely hypothetical. I spent the next week gathering proof. I didn't hack. I didn't stalk. I just watched. Her social media was public. Ethan's was sloppy. Their timestamps overlapped with my deployment dates. Her birthday posts. Their weekend getaways. A comment from Amber under a photo. My brother's gonna flip when he finds out. Face with tears of joy. They didn't even hide it. And I didn't stop there. I submitted an anonymous tip to the Inspector General's hotline. Cited violations. Attached screenshots. Created a timeline. Let the system do the rest. By the time I got back to base, whispers had started. Ethan was pulled for questioning. My ex, who worked civilian admin under DoD, was suddenly on leave. The IG investigator requested a formal statement. I made it clear I would cooperate fully if called. I didn't have to lift a finger. Just open the cage. The military does care about honor. And both of them had spit on it. But that wasn't all. See, this wasn't just about them anymore. This was about everyone who made me feel small. My parents. My sister. The family that laughed at my silence and called it weakness. The ones who welcomed Ethan like he was blood. They had a reckoning coming too. I just had to be patient. Because justice doesn't need a megaphone. It just needs aim. The beauty of military structure is that it doesn't matter how charming you are or how many friends you have. Once you violate the code, the system will eat you alive. And Ethan? He violated everything. Not just the unspoken bro code. Not just my trust. He violated the uniform code of military justice. And he did it like an amateur. Turns out, Ethan and my ex had been cohabiting while both were under active duty assignments. They were stationed only 30 minutes apart and made no effort to hide it. Photos. Receipts. Even base guest logs showed him visiting her overnight in housing she wasn't entitled to. And here's the kicker. My ex was still listed as my military dependent during most of it. Which meant Ethan was sleeping with a soldier's wife. That meant adultery, conduct unbecoming, and fraternization. All while in uniform, all during an ongoing deployment. And I had receipts. The JAG office asked for a formal complaint. I handed them a flash drive with labeled folders. Evidence A, overlapping timestamps. Evidence B, her military spouse ID scans. Evidence C, social media trail. Evidence D, messages from mutuals confirming dates. It wasn't rage. It was data. And the data was damning. The process took weeks. I kept my distance. Played dumb. Acted like nothing happened. Meanwhile, the IG conducted interviews. My command was looped in. Ethan was pulled off an overseas assignment. My ex stopped showing up to her DoD contractor job. Then one morning my CO called me in. Shut the door. You did everything by the book, Sergeant. Impressive restraint. I didn't smile. I didn't speak. He slid 2 sealed envelopes across the desk. Ethan's under Article 134 investigation. Dishonorable discharge is on the table. Your ex is being terminated from her DoD post. Security clearance revoked. And thanks to your documentation, the fraud charges are sticking. She might see jail time. I nodded once. No celebration. No fist pump. Just that quiet satisfaction. The kind that feels like exhaling after holding your breath for too many years. I left the office, found a quiet spot on the range, and fired off 3 rounds into a distant target. All 3 hit dead center. Ethan had always teased me for over-practicing. He didn't know every shot was aimed at him. Justice for them was satisfying. But it wasn't enough. See, I didn't just lose a girlfriend and a best friend, I lost a family long before that. I just didn't realize it until silence made the truth echo louder. And now it was their turn. Amber, my sister, had always been blind to her privilege. She could lie, cheat, crash cars, ruin birthdays, and still get praised for being expressive. I remember when she got drunk at my enlistment dinner and said, "You only joined the army because you didn't have a real personality." My mother laughed. My father said, "Don't take things so seriously, son." Yeah, it was time. They all adored Ethan, called him the real hero of the family. I had the medals. He had the charm. That's what mattered to them. My mom even invited him to Thanksgiving without asking me while I was overseas. That year I made sure to attend dinner. I didn't bring food. I didn't bring wine. I brought a manila folder. Inside, copies of the military discharge documents, her termination letter from DoD, screenshots of Amber's Instagram comment calling them soulmates, and a printed transcript of a voicemail she left Ethan, laughing about how my PTSD made me clingy and boring. I walked into my parents' house, dropped the folder on the table, and sat across from them while turkey was being carved. "Before we bless this meal," I said calmly, "I'd like to give thanks for truth." I slid the folder to Amber. She opened it, laughed at first, then choked on her own breath. My father read it next, jaw clenched. No words. My mother tried to excuse it. This isn't necessary. You're ruining dinner." "No," I said. "You did that years ago." I stood up, raised my glass of water, and said, "To family. May we never again confuse blood with loyalty." Then I walked out, leaving the folder on the table, along with every piece of respect I once had for them. 2 days later, Amber deleted her entire Instagram. My father texted me once, "We didn't know." I never replied. Because the truth? They did. They just didn't care, until it was inconvenient. Now they had to live in the ruins of the reputation they helped build. And I was just getting started. With the past burning behind me, I didn't expect anyone to show up. I wasn't looking for comfort. I wasn't expecting loyalty. I figured most people would quietly disappear the way they always had. But some didn't. Marcus was the first. He was my squad leader on our second deployment, gruff, grizzled, half-deaf, and allergic to sugarcoating. He showed up at my barracks door 2 days after Thanksgiving holding a 6-pack and a container of gas station wings. "Heard about the discharge?" he grunted, walking in without being invited. "You really pulled the pin on that mess, huh?" I didn't answer. He sat down, cracked a beer, and added, "Proud of you. Not for revenge. For precision." We watched a football game in silence. No pity. No lecturas. Just presence. After that, others reached out too. Staff Sergeant Delgado, who I hadn't spoken to in a year, texted. "Saw what you did to Ethan. Long time coming." A corporal I trained during my first assignment sent me a screenshot. My ex's face posted on a military gossip forum titled, "When Sleeping Up Gets You Discharged." The comments were brutal. She had become a cautionary tale. But it wasn't just the guys from the army. My old high school English teacher, Mr. Rhodes, emailed me out of nowhere. "They never saw you." I did. "I still have your essay about honor. I use it in class." And the real surprise? My neighbor, Miss Patty. 70 years old. Cat lady. Always pretended not to hear my hellos. She knocked on my door one night holding a pie. I never liked that girl. Told my husband she was hollow behind the eyes. I laughed for the first time in months. That was when it hit me. Family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up after the fire. The army taught me discipline. Betrayal taught me strategy. But these people? They reminded me I wasn't alone. And with their quiet, unwavering presence behind me, I began to rebuild. Not just stronger, smarter. Because the next phase wasn't about justice. It was about dominance. And I wasn't done yet. They always come crawling back. That's what people say. I never believed it, until it happened to me. About a month after her termination went public, I got a message request on Facebook. From her. The same woman who once called me emotionally unstable, in a voicemail now typed. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just miss what we had. No apology. No ownership. Just regret wrapped in nostalgia. I ignored it. Then came the email. I lost everything, Cole. You left me. I made a mistake. Still I said nothing. That same week, one of her old friends, a mutual who still followed me, sent me a screenshot from Reddit. A post on the military spouse forum titled, I cheated on my husband while he was deployed, and now I'm paying the price. It had over 12,000 upvotes. The comments? Unforgiving. Ruthless. Every detail matched her story. I didn't comment. I didn't like it. I didn't need to. Instead, I opened Instagram. I posted a side-by-side collage. Left photo, her 4th of July post from 6 months ago, her and Ethan kissing with the caption, free at last. Right photo, a blurred screenshot of her email to me. The line, I lost everything. No caption. Just the date. The internet did the rest. Within hours, mutuals shared it. Comments exploded. People began to stitch the story together. Ethan's old platoon posted laughing emojis. My ex's new Instagram account, under a fake name, got flooded with reminders of her downfall. And the best part? I never said a word. No hashtags. No explanation. Just the receipts. She blocked me 2 days later. Then deleted her new account. But by then the damage was done. Her career was over. Her reputation was poison. Her fallback, me, was untouchable. I wasn't trying to be petty. I was proving a point. When you betray a man trained to fight for a living, don't be surprised when he doesn't throw punches. He sets traps. While their world burned, mine got quiet. Peaceful. But not passive. I wasn't done climbing. With my head finally clear and the drama behind me, I doubled down. Applied for advanced tactical training. Got accepted. Finished top of the class. My CO called me in one morning with a rare grin on his face. You've been recommended for warrant officer candidate school. You earned it. I didn't smile. Not because I wasn't proud, but because pride doesn't look like it used to. It's quieter. Rooted. I moved out of state, transferred to a new unit. Bought a condo in cash. Started volunteering at a self-defense program for veterans with PTSD. Not for the optics. For the outlet. Every gain was a brick in the fortress I was building around my new life. And then I mailed a package. Not to my ex. Not to Ethan. To his parents. They were the ones who once posted about how proud they were that their son was serving beside such a loyal brother. The same ones who commented, soulmates, on my ex's engagement post. Inside the package was a copy of the UCMJ violation report, the discharge letter, a photo of Ethan in janitorial scrubs, taken by a buddy who saw him working at a rehab facility cleaning bathrooms as part of a court-ordered program. A note in my handwriting. This is what happens when you raise a man who confuses charm with honor. No return address. Just closure. I didn't need them to say anything. I just wanted them to know. I saw everything. And I remembered. Meanwhile, my parents tried to re-enter my life. My mom sent a birthday card with a check inside. My dad forwarded a link to a property listing near their home. A good investment, he said. I mailed the card back. Ripped the check in half. Replied to the email with a single word. Unsubscribed. I wasn't seeking revenge anymore. I had executed it. And now no one could touch me. Because I wasn't just rebuilt. I was reinforced. The day I knew I was free wasn't loud. There was no final confrontation, no big blow-up. Just me standing in my empty apartment, packing the last box. I found the old cracked mirror, the one I punched the night I saw that fireworks post. The glass had since been replaced, but the spiderweb fractures in the frame still ran like scars. I almost threw it out. But then I stopped. It wasn't just a broken mirror. It was a timestamp. A reminder of who I used to be, the man who begged for love, chased after approval, tolerated crumbs and called it loyalty. I kept it. Hung it in my new place, in the guest room, not because I wanted to see it every day but because I wanted to remember, I survived that version of myself. And I buried him properly. Amber reached out once more. A long text. Half apology, half self-pity. I didn't realize how bad it was. You're my brother. I miss you. We all do. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened the Notes app and wrote a list. Who showed up? Who vanished? Who benefited from my silence? Then I deleted the list too. Because I no longer needed names to remember what I'd learned. Some people aren't evil. They're just weak. And when you become strong, they mistake your boundaries for cruelty. Let them. I started dating again, not because I needed to fill a void, but because there was finally room in my life for something healthy. I met her at a vet-owned gym. A woman who never asked for explanations, but knew how to sit beside me in silence. She never flinched at the word discharge, never winced when I talked about betrayal. She just nodded and said, "Good. That means they're not standing in your way anymore." She didn't complete me. She respected that I was already whole. And that's how I knew I'd healed. Not because they were gone, but because I no longer needed them to know it. Revenge isn't noise. It's silence with consequences. People think revenge is fire. That it burns loud, spreads fast, consumes everything. But that's not true. The real kind? The kind that leaves scars on them, not you? It's quiet. It's a paper trail. A signature. A silence so sharp it draws blood. It's knowing when not to respond. When not to correct the lie. When not to save someone from their own fall. Because the best revenge doesn't scream in their face. It waits. It waits until you're so far above them that they have to look up just to feel regret. You don't have to torch their house. You just have to build your own on a hill so high they choke on the air. And no, it won't happen overnight. First comes the breaking. Then the doubt. Then the long, slow rebuild. The discipline, the early mornings, the unanswered calls. But when it comes, you'll know. When the people who left you bleeding try to crawl back through your new front door, you'll know. And you won't need to slam it. You'll just leave it locked. Because some doors aren't closed out of anger. They're closed because you're no longer in the same house. So to anyone who's been cheated on, left behind, cast aside while giving everything you had, remember this. Revenge isn't about rage. It's about reclaiming your narrative. It's about letting them destroy themselves, while you rebuild in silence. One brick at a time. And when they say, "You've changed," you can smile. And say, "I had to," because they left you for dead. But you didn't die. You got better. You got smarter. You got dangerous.